I think what's important is like what I've realized is in the early days when speaking to other founders and they're like, do this and do that. And you just don't understand the context as to why they're telling you that. And it's really important that you actually go out there and make the same mistakes that everybody else has done in order to realize why that is the correct way to do things. I encourage the mistakes. If I have even a single day where I haven't made a mistake, I'm doing something wrong.
Annabel Hay was building her career while still figuring out what she actually wanted. Through uncertainty, career shifts, and learning to trust her instincts, she eventually created Clutch, a water-soluble, sweat-resistant, and seriously strong alternative to fashion tape. After a serious wardrobe malfunction at one of Sydney's most renowned entertainment areas, this brought upon the idea to create something that would take the world by storm. But this episode goes beyond the product. It explores alignment, self-belief, and what it really takes to back yourself when the path isn't clear. If there was something that you would have learned over your last X amount of years of existence, especially in your business, there was this one thing that you can go back to maybe 16-year-old Annabel. What would you tell her to help her get to where you are today in probably half the time, quarter of the time?
I would say...
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of 0.01 Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Annabel Hay, on. This is going to be an incredible story. Forbes 30 under 30 Shark Tank participant, and also, do we call it a winner? I think call it a winner, right?
Best Shark Tank pitch of all time, apparently.
Best Shark Tank pitch of all time. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Episode 29, Annabel Hay. Let's go. All right. Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
I'm excited to be here.
Exciting stuff. So, best Shark Tank pitch of all time. I want to dive into that later on, okay?
Yeah.
Let's edge everyone a little bit here.
Sure.
So, with what you're doing with your business, very, very cool. I want to quickly introduce the business so people can understand how special you are.
Sure.
Okay, so this thing here, you have it sitting in front of me. Now, this is a phenomenal product from what I've seen, right? Clutch glue.
Yep.
Now, this is for girls who are kind of scared of that wardrobe malfunction.
Totally.
I've never had a wardrobe malfunction, so I can't understand from that perspective. But I'm assuming a lot of girls will be very scared of the random nipple slip or the dress falling off
That's
at
right.
a gala.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very, very scary, no matter who you are.
It's a high stakes moment. And I
Very,
think
very scary.
that, like, and even in your everyday life, right? Like, Clutch was one of those things, and the idea for Clutch came to me after having a really embarrassing wardrobe malfunction at a nightclub back in 2017. I was watching a really small artist at the time. His name's Dom Dollar. He's a very big deal now.
Yep.
And I was wearing a jumpsuit, a plunging neckline jumpsuit, and I'd used about 30 odd pieces of fashion tape.
And
to
that's
tape
that
myself
invisible
into it.
tape, right? For all the boys out
Exactly.
there who have no idea.
It's
like
a
this
double-sided tape
yep.
that it quite literally is repurposed from the hardware aisle. All the ingredients on there are super toxic. It's terrible for your skin. It's not skin safe at all. Not to mention all the single-use waste that comes from using those strips of tape to tape yourself in. And anyway, it's the only solution, right? And so at the time, I was just going through so much of it because I was working full-time as a construction manager, but I had way too much disposable income. So I was spending all my money on clothes and clubbing, as like anyone does, any 19-year-old does.
Oh,
I was 19 at the time.
Jeez.
So I was pretty itchy to get out there and like just have fun. I've always loved a club, still do to this day. I really like going out with my friends. That just like really makes me tick.
Yep.
And anyway, there was this one fateful night using 30 odd pieces of fashion tape to try and tape myself into this jumpsuit. I wasn't getting the placement right. It's really hard to get the placement right. So I'd gone through a whole packet of fashion tape, and then I'd finally, figured it out. And I arrived at the club, and within 30 seconds I started to sweat, and it all came off.
Yeah, I'm assuming like when you have double-sided tape, anytime you get liquid on it, whether it's seawater, for example, sweat, anything salty, right?
Yeah.
Straight away it comes
Just
apart.
comes off. It's not at all sweat resistant.
Like, how was that even a product that was successful in the last 2 decades?
Because it was just the only solution, and it just truly blew my mind, where I was in a moment of frustration and embarrassment. In that moment, I just went, it would be so much easier if I could just glue myself into my clothes.
Yeah, and how crazy is that?
And then I went home and I was like, that's actually a really good idea. And having never had an original experience, I was like, surely somebody else has done this before. And so I Googled it. There was nothing. There was no liquid fashion tape or no glue alternative to fashion tape that did what I wanted it to do, and it just wasn't on the market. And the things that I wanted it to do, in hindsight, was an absolute laundry list, but at the time it just made total sense to me. It needed to be sweat resistant, but water soluble, so it washed off your clothes and off your skin when you're done. It needed to be seriously strong. It needed to be hypoallergenic, needed to be compatible with all fabrics, needed to be vegan, palm oil free, and the packaging needed to be made of 100% recycled materials.
Which
that is then 100% recyclable.
If you look at it,
Yeah. So that plastic that the tube is housed in is 100% recyclable plastic.
Oh yeah, it is. It does feel quite nice. It's like a nice matte, silky kind of plastic.
It feels good. Yeah. It's very high quality packaging.
It is, definitely. I love this.
So I was like, you know what? We can get men to the moon. I can invent glue. So then I spent 4 years inventing and globally patenting the world's first glue alternative to fashion tape.
Wow, 4 years.
4 years.
Was that the patent process or was that the R&D process?
All of it combined. So it was, firstly, it was the R&D process. Now, I'm not a chemist. Yep. I'm a construction manager. And so I knew as a construction manager I just needed money and to delegate. If I didn't know how to do something, money and delegation, that's all it is. And truly to this day, you speak to any business owner and they say it's completely true. Yep. Any task that they don't know how to do, delegate, get somebody else to do it. And so that's what I decided to do. I knew that universities got people in to do research projects. And I was like, emailed UNSW Chemical Engineering Department, where I was doing a full-time construction management degree at the time too. So I was working full-time at JLL, a construction company. I was also doing a full-time construction management degree.
So I'm going to try to use some maths here. This would have been about 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
About 2019, just pre-COVID.
Yeah, just pre-COVID. 2017. So it was 2017. Like, yeah, COVID wasn't even a thing that anyone was talking about. I'm fairly certain maybe SARS was a thing in China. We're talking SARS era.
Yep.
And so anyway, I remember I emailed a bunch of universities across Australia. I wanted to keep it in Australia because I knew I could maintain those kind of relationships with people. I knew that people would take IP seriously here as well, which is why I decided not to go overseas with the idea. And then I think I emailed UNSW, I think it was 27 times. I counted the other day. 27 times before they replied to me.
Like cold emails. Hey guys.
Cold emails. Just being like, do you have anyone who could do this research project for me? And I think one fateful day, this woman replied to me taking severe pity in me and was just like, Annabel, email this guy and see what he says. And I was like, great. Anyway, emailed him. His name is Raymond. And to this day, I still talk to Raymond. We're developing some other products with each other at the moment.
So he's your chemist for it.
He's my chemist.
He's your chemist. Yeah.
Now, he was at UNSW inventing fire retardants.
Okay.
So the cladding that was covered, the Grenfell Tower in London that went famously up in flames, had a really flammable cladding over the top of it. He was trying to invent something that just went over the top of the cladding to improve its fire rating rather than everyone needing to literally strip it and put new cladding over the top. So that's what he was doing at UNSW. And I was like, so what do you think about a water-soluble glue? And he was just like, Annabel, why would you want a water-soluble glue? That's like actually the complete opposite of what a glue should be, which is completely waterproof. And I was like, the details don't matter, Raymond. Can you make it or not? And he went, okay, like, yeah, I guess so. And then we agreed on a price. We signed a contract, NDA, all of that good stuff. The whole agreement was that it needed to be patentable, but it needed to be my IP and my formula. And he was completely fine with that. And I was like, great. I think the journey took him about a year to get the formula that we all know and love.
How many versions?
I think we had 12 versions.
Wow.
And I had a full panel of people that were all my friends that I could trust that all had different skin conditions. So some had psoriasis, eczema, just sensitive skin, had different, latex allergies, like all of it, you name it. And we had to make sure that no one had a reaction to the formula. Wow. And this clutch formula that we all know and love was the one that got tens across the board, and that's when we knew it was the right one. Then once that was the case, I ran off to my patent lawyer and I said, hey, I've got this formula, I need to get it patented. And they went, alrighty. And then thus began another 3 years of patenting, trademarking, designing, branding, all of it, all around the world. I think it's patented now in over 47 different countries right now.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money. But I'll explain the patent process to anybody that sort of doesn't know in a very short space of time, if I can. So
take your time. We've got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. So what happens is, once you got your formula, firstly, your patent lawyer will go to the International Patent Office and say it's the first revision. That's like the first step, which is then after about a year, they normally revise the application. They come back and then they're like, all right, we think that this is patentable. We think that what you've got is good.
Yep.
Go ahead, green light. You can now lodge this in every single country that you want to lodge it.
How much was that process of the first revision? Do you remember?
I think it was about 65 grand, maybe.
65?
Yeah, it was a lot of
Holy
money.
shit.
A lot of money.
Wow.
And I was bootstrapping this entire thing, right?
Of course.
And so this is also why it took me 4 years, by the way, is because I just couldn't afford to pay for it all at once. So I was only doing steps as I got paid and as I could afford it.
Well, 65 grand is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. How old were you at that time?
I was
early 20s?
21 I would have been at that
21.
time.
If you had 65 grand of savings at 21, you're doing pretty good.
I was working fucking hard, I'll tell you that for free.
Yeah.
I was working really hard, and I think that this is something that people just don't see. I think that people go, 21-year-old that's got 60 grand. It's like, hang on. I was genuinely harvesting any money that I was making was going directly into this business. When I tell you I was eating eggs on toast, I was eating eggs on toast.
Yeah, because I remember at 21, I probably had about 35 grand in savings. That was it.
And that's good.
Yeah, and that's I think that was okay. That's not too bad.
100%.
Right? It's crazy.
And so it's just one of those things that I think that people didn't quite realize how much I was sacrificing at the time. I think that too, a lot of my friends that I didn't tell about Clutch were like, you're working full time. Like, why are you saying that you're so poor all the time? I'm like, just trust me on this. It'll all make sense.
Trust me, I'm paying for this invisible review that cost me an entire year's salary, okay?
Yeah, literally. I'm paying for a non-tangible thing right now.
And they could just say, no, it's not paid.
No, genuinely. Exactly. Like, there was no guarantee that it was actually going to go through. And so then once the patent office came back and said, yeah, like, you can go ahead.
Must have been a sigh of relief.
That was a crazy moment. I remember exactly where I was. I was in Woolworths Shopping Centre, buying, what was I buying? Toothpaste. I was like literally buying like Colgate Optic White toothpaste.
Not sponsored.
And I got a call from my lawyer being like, great news, like it's time for you to lodge it now in all the countries that you want to lodge it in.
Wow.
Now what happens is there's no then international patent office in that way, right? So then you've quite literally got to go to every single patent office individually and lodge it, which also means that you've got to translate any applications that need to be in different languages. So for instance, Japanese, Chinese, like you name it, we did all of that process as well.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, at least nowadays you've got AI. You can just chuck everything in there and it'll translate for you.
Oh God, but what if it gets it? What if the AI gets it wrong and then my patent turns out it's for something completely different?
That's true.
Yeah, that's terrible advice.
Don't trust AI for all your legal documents.
Definitely not.
Did it cost each country obviously had their own fees, right? Is that how it works?
That's right. And I think most of them were like I'm standard about $8,000 to lodge.
Yeah.
Across the board, but the European Union costs a fortune because of all the amount of countries that are within the European Union.
So
then you sort of compile them all together, and then if I was to probably do the division.
So European Union oversees all the little countries, or do you need to apply all the little countries? Okay. So you would choose, like tick off, bang, 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 bang. I want 16 of them. Yeah. 16 times 8.
Yeah, exactly. But then like Switzerland isn't part of the European Union, so then it was like, a
separate one.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that like any country that isn't a part of the European Union you identify, and then you're able to lodge. But like your lawyer will do all that for you. Yeah. If you've got a good lawyer, you should be fine.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So now you're in 47 countries patented.
Yeah.
If we're doing the quick maths, that's almost 400 grand.
Yeah, all up. Now I staggered that. In terms of I prioritized the ones that I knew I really needed to do first and foremost.
Yep.
And then as time went on, and as we closed our cap raise and things like that, a large portion of our cap raise money then went into making sure we could lodge those applications within those other countries that we'd sort of prioritized as number 2.
Yep.
You've only got a year from your international application coming back for you to then lodge in all those different countries.
Oh, shit.
If you miss it, then
again.
Yeah.
You go again. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that makes sense for why you had those cap raises and you had all that. And I think a lot of people will be out there curious about that. This is a very, very interesting conversation. It actually went completely away from what I wanted to start with, but we're into it now. So with your cap raises, there's not many e-com businesses here in Australia that are in your position where you have VC backing and you've gone on to Shark Tank as well. You got backing from Shark Tank too. And it makes sense why you needed all of that, because obviously it was a very, very expensive project to get going from day dot. Just to protect all your patents patents, you're talking almost $500,000 formulation, patents, applications, reviews.
That's right.
$500,000. Not many 21-year-olds would have $500,000 in savings.
I didn't.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So not many people. And then in e-commerce, to a lot of people in their head, e-commerce is a business that's started by a lot of these young hustlers who kind of put away their money. They start off with drop shipping, then they go and try to build a brand. And that's the e-commerce business model.
Sure.
So in your situation, you obviously went out, you got funding for the business off the bat, pretty much since day one, right? Or did you already kind of start the business, sell retail prior, or how did that
That's
work?
right.
What was the process?
So what happened was we launched 1st of December 2022. So that's almost 3 years ago to this day.
And that's post applications?
That was sort of like mid application. So we'd done some, but not all. And then what happened was for the first year of the business, it was truly just, figuring it out. There were so many things that were really janky, like our supply chain was absolutely shite. Like, we were shipping things here and there and and it was just like...
Where's my package, guys? It's been 3 months.
No, genuinely. It was just so bad and really inefficient. And that's okay. That's all a part of the process. I think that you do need to start off slow and sure.
I mean, no one has the answers when they first start.
Exactly.
You had no idea that a raise would look like that or what you need to prepare, or none of us do. We don't know how to ship anything.
I think what's important is, like, what I've realized is in the early days when speaking to other founders and they're like, do this and do that, and you just don't understand the context as to why they're telling you that. And it's really important that you actually go out there and make the same mistakes that everybody else has done in order to realize why that is the correct way to do things. Because a lot of the time it can feel really intuitive to do something one way and it turns out that's completely wrong, but you really need to get there on your own. So I'm a big believer that knowledge is power, definitely. Talk to as many people as you possibly can when it comes to starting a business, but it's really important that you actually embrace those mistakes. And that has really created solid foundations for us. So I really spent the first year of the business, it was a super formative year for us, understanding supply chain issues and how do I overcome them and how do I streamline them, how do I make things cheaper, how do I gain efficiencies, what programs can I use to maintain those efficiencies, and also who do I need to hire and what jobs do I absolutely hate doing. And so those were all things that I sort of knew I needed to improve on. And some of those outcomes that I wanted were pretty easy that I could do immediately, within that moment, or there were things that just cost money where I just genuinely couldn't afford to do yet. And that's okay. Identifying what those restrictions were from a monetary perspective was really important, because then when we went into our cap raise discussions, we knew exactly what we could unlock and what we could achieve with the funds.
Very smart.
So that was sort of the first year of the business. Then about 1.5 years in, it was like, right, this is getting really hard. We were still, my sister's my CMO, who I brought on board kind of accidentally. I was just like, hey, can you just like do this?
Film content for me, please.
And then it just like snowballed into this whole thing that we've now ended up doing together. And she's my absolute best friend. I just love working with her every day. And she and we were working full time still in our jobs. I was a construction manager. She was working as a copywriter. And we sort of just looked at each other one day and we just went, I think that we just need to do a cap raise. Like, this is just so difficult. And there are so many doors that we just can't open on our own. With the right expertise and strategic investors, there is so much that we could do and achieve. I think too, having a novel product, a first of its kind product that was really viral on TikTok and Instagram, but it was like, if we don't move fast enough, there are going to be people that are just going to rip this off and they won't come close to the formula because it's globally patented, but they are going to rip something off and probably have a lot more money behind them. And unfortunately, that'll overtake us and kill us. And that will be a really devastating moment. And I was really threatened by that in my mind. And so that's when I was like, we need to move really fucking quickly at this point. And I was like, I've got all the foundations. We've broken the business a million times and put it back together. And now we know what we need to do to just scale.
That's very
smart. And we know what scaling looks like. So then that's when we sort of decided to go down the road of cap raise.
Interesting. So talk to me about first year, right? First year, there was a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of stuff. Yeah. And we love talking about this stuff. I think a lot of social media, a lot of the world goes, hey, this is cool. You now have a Lambo. You now have a mansion. You're doing so well. You're making so much money. But the reality of it is, like you said, you have to go through these mistakes. And I think there's more learnings in the mistake than there is in the success. And there always will be.
I encourage the mistakes. If I have even a single day where I haven't made a mistake, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not doing enough.
Correct.
Like truly in that moment, I'm not doing enough.
Well, you're not growing, you're not learning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the only way we grow and learn is to get these mistakes and to experience them. And I think a lot of people, especially the younger generation, is same thing when we were 21. Like you would imagine all you think about, all you want is that success. You want that glamorous lifestyle.
Well, you think that you know what it looks like. And now that I'm perhaps like at a point now where I think that I have achieved some level of success, I've still got huge ambitions for this business, and the goalpost will continue to shift. But if we look at the past sort of 3 years, and I really admire how far I've come, definitely. But just knowing now how I measure it is completely different to how I measured it before.
Right? Yeah.
Like now I measure my team's happiness levels and success. That's something that means so much to me.
You've
and
become
makes
a
me
business mum.
Yeah. And I have mouths to feed, and I have responsibilities that are now just no longer for myself.
Correct.
And that's something that I find really fulfilling, but equal parts scarier. I think that, the higher the climb, the higher the fall, right? And that's something that will continue to scare me. And I think and I've spoken about it before, just having staff is something that I find actually particularly frightening, and does probably keep me up at night more than anything else, is just to make sure that they're happy. Am I doing enough for them? How can I be better at communicating my point? And how can I relay information in a more effective way where more people understand? Because I realize that I have the entire context of my business in my head, and no one else has that.
Correct.
And that's really, I forget that often. That's a huge weakness of mine.
I definitely think it happens, right? And you're lucky you come from a position of construction manager where you're, overseeing project management, people, stuff, everything, right?
Money, all of it.
Money.
Yeah.
So you're putting pieces together, which is great. You're a great chess player in the first place. So that's a fantastic advantage to have.
It is a good skill.
Exactly. So during that first year of business, it was just you and your sister.
Yeah.
And how were you guys selling Clutch? Was it online? Was it e-commerce only in markets? What was it? Just online?
It was online. So we launched as a D2C business off Shopify. The warehouse was my share house in Bondi.
Yep.
And if we ever had big sales periods, for instance, when we'd go super viral on TikTok and sell heaps, I would quite literally call my friends and they'd come over to my share house and they would pack orders. Wow. And I still look back on those moments with such fondness. I was with my girlfriends last night for dinner and we were talking about it. We were like, the fact that we used to get manic phone calls from you on a Tuesday being like, you need to come over, I'll pay you in pizza. And they loved that. And they still love that. And that's really cool. That's really cool that we've all come very far. So that was the first year of the business. I also really loved packing the orders myself because it was really cool to see these strangers that I don't know and their names on the shipping labels being like, how is this going to India? How is this going to Monaco? This is wild. And that was really cool to a tangible way of seeing, my product being shipped out and sent to strangers that I don't know. So that was really cool. That was sort of the first year of the business. What happened was the main response we were getting on social media was that people needed it now. I'm seeing this TikTok that's viral and I'm in actually the Uber on the way to an event. Where can I get it right now? And I was like, right, this obviously belongs on a retail shelf.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, okay, I don't know anyone who works at any retailer ever. How do I get this onto retail shelves? So then I just started guessing buyers' email addresses. Quite literally went on LinkedIn, you type in, for instance, Priceline buyer, and they all come up. And it'll be their first name and their last name and blah, blah, blah. And then it was just guessing what the iteration of email would be.
At priceline.com.au.
Is it at Priceline or is it their overarching business that owns Priceline? There's a few other things. So if you're getting bounce backs, don't be disheartened. You just need to probably try, is it at Westfarmers? Is it at API? Up to you. You need to figure that out.
Correct.
And so I just kept doing that. I think this one fateful day, I guessed over 350 email addresses.
Jesus.
I'd sent so many emails to Priceline, Woolworths, Chemist Warehouse, you name it, any big one that was across Australia. And pretty instantly I got a reply back from someone at Priceline saying, funnily enough, someone in marketing had quite literally showed this to me yesterday and said that we had to stock it. And she was like, so it was all very divine intervention, very good timing.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, I'll send you some samples. Keep in mind, it's about October. At this point, October 2023.
Almost
a year in.
About 10 months, yeah.
Almost a year in at this point. And I was like, right. And and she was like, okay, this is more of a summer product than it is a winter product. But our next range review isn't until February next year. And she was like, I think that if we then range you then, it's going to sort of be a little bit too late. And they're like, we kind of want it now. And they said, what are the odds you can get us 30,000 units in like the next month? And I was like, I'll do anything. Anyway, of course, then like got off the phone and was like, fuck.
How do I do 30,000 units?
Who's going to make them? I was like thinking about ways that I could cook it in my kitchen. Like it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did find our what had then sort of happened was that we'd worked through a bunch of manufacturers that just weren't making the product correctly, or the tubes were being pierced and breaking and all of this stuff. So it took us a while to find the right manufacturer for clutch, which we found one in Perth who was brilliant and did a lot.
In Perth?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All of it I wanted to be Australian made for the first couple of years for the same reasons. I just wanted the IP to make sure that it was tight, and I wanted to as I was also just understanding this process myself, I just kind of needed an Australian to talk to me about it. Like that was kind of...
And it makes sense. It's scary. Like I'm Chinese, so I can speak to Chinese, no problem.
Yeah.
But it must be very scary when it's a foreign language, a foreign country, foreign whatever. But we all know moving to China is cheaper manufacturing, better margins, and efficiency is much better.
Totally.
But it's just difficult. When you don't speak Chinese, it is difficult and scary.
And
I get
look,
it.
now we're at that level where we did offshore to China and they make a beautiful product, and that's been really good. But like, I think that it was really important in the early phases of our journey that we did actually know what good product looked like. Like, at the end of the day, I'm like, this is correct. So when we got our samples from our manufacturer, when we ended up offshoring to China, I knew what was good and what was bad.
And you felt it and you're like, yeah, this is exactly what we had earlier.
Exactly right. What it smells like, what it feels like. It's you know, it's a whole thing that I just knew what a good product was. And so these are all good things. These are all building blocks. So again, you just don't need to have it all figured out at the beginning. There are things that you can just do. And so anyway, Priceline, we're like, cool, get us 30,000 units. And I was like, holy shit. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then they wanted some custom display units and things. And I was like, holy fuck. So that was a really expensive process, by the way, because you're fronting all of those bills with your manufacturer, custom displays, you name it. And then you deliver it to the warehouse, and then Priceline have good payment terms. They're 30 days from receipt in the warehouse, which normally, honestly, like our American people, it's like 150 days.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So a lot of the time,
actually, let's break that down for people who don't know, right?
Yeah.
And just so bit of clarity's sake, a lot of people probably won't have any idea what we're talking about as we get more niche. Yeah. So when it comes to payment terms, what does that look like? So you have like net 30s, net 60s, net 90s, net 120, or in America 150.
Yeah.
It's like when the stock actually arrives in your warehouse, then they release funds to you for that stock that they've purchased off you 30 days later, 60 days later, 90 days, 150, 120 days
so
later.
You raise the invoice once it's delivered.
Yes, correct. Which is crazy, because that means us as brands, we front everything before the retailer even gives us a single cent.
No, exactly.
And that is scary.
It's really scary. And also just keeping your business afloat for that long. Also, then I'm still committing to other orders, right? Like I've still got to do my D2C. I've still got other retailers that need stock
How
from me.
big was your D2C at that stage? 20K a month, 50K a month, 10K a month?
No, I think that we were honestly making like maybe $1,000 a day, like on D2C. So not much.
About 30 grand a month. Yeah.
Yeah, like not much. And that's still good. Like
that's not bad. Don't get me wrong.
But you know, just it wasn't enough to then cover the manufacturing invoices that we need to pay and stuff.
So how did you even do that? To get a 30,000 invoice that early on in your business where you're only doing about 30 grand a month. Yeah. That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, I think that the money that ended up coming into the bank account of, you know, however long later after it got delivered was maybe like 100 grand maybe or something.
Yeah.
And I remember actually thinking I was the richest man alive. Like I was like, I am balling. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, that just goes straight back into more stock again.
Yeah,
like it was just one of those things where it's like you just continue to need more stock and more stock and more stock. And then we needed money to commit to marketing. When you go into these retailers, you're funding the sales. Yes. They're always maintaining their margin. And so whenever your product's on sale, I get billed back for however the difference in margin, which people don't know. And then you've also got to commit to a sales marketing period. So then it might be $30,000 that you owe Priceline to advertise for that sale. So, and you might only be on sale for like the week. Yeah. And so there's certain commitments, contractual obligations that you have to invest in marketing for that specific retailer. And that's universal across the board, right? Yep. Like Priceline actually have really, really good arrangements with us. I love working with them. But for instance, we had a really failed then a year later, we actually had a really, really failed opportunity with Woolworths. So Priceline, we launched Christmas time. Within a week of launch, became and still remains their number one best-selling product.
Crazy.
bonkers.
Crazy.
And what's been really cool is that they've grown with us and they've supported us, and I really appreciate that from them, and I really love their team. Now, I thought what was crazy was that this was my impression of retail, and they're so lovely and so understanding. And I was like, everybody's like this. Like, I was
and
like,
then you go to another one.
Nice. And then, holy fuck, did I get, pushed right back down to reality. We did, this was this time last year, we did a Woolworths 6-week trial. It was over Christmas, and it was like if you were to sell through all of your products, it was 12 units per store for that 6-week period. If you sell through all of them, then we'll range you next year. And we were like, great. They only gave us 2 weeks to produce, I think it was about 50,000 units of stock, and some custom displays as well.
Wow.
We got it to them. I quite literally locked my family in a warehouse, and we checked, squeezed, packed every single tube over a weekend, and then did a same-day delivery courier to get it to their warehouse.
That's insane.
Then
how many pallets is that?
I think it was like small. 3 pallets or something. Product is small, thank God.
Which is great.
Yeah, it is great. It's very
imagine sending 50
very
pallets.
economical.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we got the shipment there, all is well. And then we did everything that we could on our side. And then we started putting some ad spend behind it, pushing people into Woolies to go and find it. And we just kept on getting messages from people being like, I can't find it in any Woolies. Like, it's not on the shelf. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? We kept on emailing Woolies. They weren't replying. And then we ended up sending a third-party auditor out to understand what was going on. It turns out that all the stores that we were meant to be in after the 4 weeks, the product just wasn't on shelf. It was out the back. It was 5 meters away. Just nobody had been bothered to put it on the shelf. So after 4 weeks, I think it was only 40% of stores had put the stock out.
Wow.
And at the end of the 6 weeks, then only 60% of the stores had put the stock out. Now, the good part was any of the stores that put the stock out during the first couple of weeks, they'd all sold out of Clutch. Yep. All of them. And I was like, great metric to show that we actually smashed our goal in terms of sell-through, which is bonkers. If you're selling 12 units per store, that's insane.
I don't even know how many stores Woolies has.
So thousands? I think like 10,000 or something. But
is there 10,000 Woolies stores?
Yeah, it's pretty mad.
Oh my God.
But I think that includes Metro. But we were in. I think the trial was like for 400 stores or something, right? Like across Australia. And then the agreement was any stock that we don't sell, I buy back because I really needed the stock, like desperately. Priceline was selling out every single week, and I just like couldn't get them stock fast enough. And so I was like, I'll buy back the stock. Anyway, at the end of the 6-week trial, they then just decided without telling us, actually, no, we're not going to let you buy the stock back. We're just going to put you on a 75% clearance discount. So then we owed Woolies like $17.50 like for every tube that was sold at that price for that clearance discount because they were maintaining their margin. And then on top of that, we were doing a range review with Chemist Warehouse at the time who saw we were on clearance at Woolworths and they went, oh, so you're not selling very well at Woolies, so we're not going to range you.
Woolies fucking did you dirty.
Dogs.
So dirty.
Dirty dogs.
That is so dirty.
So I think at the end of the day, we ended up losing about 150 grand.
Oh my God.
That whole experiment cost us about $150,000.
That is so dirty.
Which I just think people think that retail is like this silver bullet.
But it's not.
It's not.
It's very dangerous.
You need to get your D2C tight.
Yeah.
If any founder that has an FMCG product comes to me being like, how do you get into retailer? My first and foremost is like, how's your D2C though?
Yeah.
Because you are actually not going to survive if you're trying to work off those payment terms and you've got to commit to all of that marketing. You need to have that D2C fucking tight before you go into retail. So that's crazy. That's a lesson for everyone.
And that would have been what, year 2 of the business, right? Roughly.
Yeah. And that was brutal. That was a brutal blow. That could kill a lot of small businesses.
That could have ended your business.
Yeah, definitely.
Ultimately, it would have. Like if you didn't have a very strong product, it would have ended your business.
It was really sad. It was really sad, and it was
Mental
a devastating
breakdowns?
blow. Not necessarily. I think I was just angry, to be honest.
Wow.
I think I was angry because I was like, this isn't my fault.
Yeah.
And so like it's fine to have a mental breakdown when you're like disappointed I'll only ever have a mentee be if I'm like truly disappointed in myself that like I haven't caught something fast enough, or like I just should have been better, like I expected more from myself. But I get angry when it's someone else that's just fucked up and it's me that takes the brunt. That's when I
throw you under the bus.
That's when I'll throw some hands. Not literally, I'm not violent, but like, you know.
Classic Aussie spirit, right?
Yeah.
That's what we always do. But that's fucked. Like that's really, really, really bad. I don't even know how else to explain it. Like they didn't put your stock out. They didn't arrange it on the shelf. Like, it wasn't on the shelf. Yeah. So how do they expect you to even sell it? And then they blame you, go, hey, it didn't sell well. But it actually did sell well on the stores that day.
It actually did. The stores that had it out sold through.
How cooked.
Anyway, look, we've overcome that now. The funny
back in Woolies now or not?
No. They came back to us asking for exclusivity on one of the products, and I just went, you can't even put me on the shelf. Get fucked.
Oh, good. There you go. How good did that feel?
Take your power back with that. Like, truly, if they've showed you their true colours, it's fine for those terms not to work for you.
Or you just go, hey, if you do 1 million units with a 50% deposit up front, I'll consider it.
Exactly right.
1 million units, fine.
Exactly right. Exactly. Yeah.
So 100%. I think people need to realize that, and I've had this conversation as well. I had a friend of mine. She was also on the potty. She's in wholesale, America, UK, everywhere, massive. They do, they're valued at 100 mil now, 2 years.
Wow, amazing.
Right? So crazy growth. And same thing, right? Like wholesale could be the silver bullet, but if you don't have a D2C like channel open, that's strong, that's profitable. Yeah. It's hard. Like during the tariffing, she lost a $10 million contract in the US, like overnight. Nah. That's a lot. No, so that's heavy, right? Because you've already fronted the stock.
Yeah, no, you have.
We're talking literally 3 months before delivery, so everything's already done.
That's so bad.
So lucky after the tariffing that happened in the US, the UK came by.
Thank God.
And they went, "Hey, let's do a deal."
Let's do it.
And then she was like, stock ready to go straight away, shipped it.
That's hectic.
Literally saved by the bell.
That's hectic.
How insane is that? Like, I think you're sitting there, you just go, as a founder, people don't realize as a founder, you sit here, sounds cool, got a $10 million contract. Next day, $10 million contract is gone. You've already fronted $2 million of stock.
It's bonkers.
And you have a whole it's insane.
You're committing 6, 7, 8 months like prior to you landing on a shelf.
Custom shelving and custom packaging for that retailer.
Exactly.
Which they don't want anymore.
Or even, country specific packaging. Like we have this in Europe in the UK, where in the US, in New Zealand, Australia, and soon to be launching in a bunch of other in the Middle East and in Asia as well. And like all of them have niche packaging requirements, which
specific languages or translations or whatever you need.
Symbols, like there's all of these things that you just wouldn't understand how nuanced it is. And it's really important that those contracts that you've got in place are ironclad. Otherwise it could just like absolutely drown you.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine that. Like imagine another tariff comes and it's 100% tariff from Trump. So and then now all of a sudden, sorry, we don't have the margins anymore. We can't take this order.
Yeah. No,
and you got like, bro, I just did custom packaging, custom shelving, custom this and that. It's already, the production is 95% complete. Like,
yeah, it's brutal. It's a brutal world out there. And those retailers just don't care.
They don't. Because they feel like they've got the power, right? They don't give a shit.
Exactly. We're lucky in that, like, I do think I take the relationship management really seriously with my retailers. We've got a really good relationship with our buyer at CVS in the States. Yeah. She's wonderful. And I just think that maintaining those relationships, it's not a transactional relationship. Try and be really human with them. And it's amazing the results that you can get out of it when you actually work together. Understand what the buyer's KPIs are and understand what my KPIs are as a business, and let's work together. And I think that that's something that you just really need to take seriously, that people don't.
I think that's very, very smart, like a very, very smart way to think about it. So during this period, the second year in the business, you're smashing wholesale deals, getting fucked over by wholesale deals. Yeah. That was the year you brought on investors?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I think we were about like 18 months down the line, and that's when I went on Shark Tank. And then that's when ultimately, everything, I guess we changed tack in a way, and that was really cool to sort of get this new gust of wind, behind Clutch, and that's when things really started to level up. That's probably when a lot of people were like, "What's this overnight success business?" And I'm like, "Fuck you! Like, never say that. Like,
there's no overnight success.
No such thing." But what happened was, it was about 18 months down the line, I got a message from a producer asking if I wanted to go on Shark Tank. I said no, and then I ultimately said yes, as we all know. And I went on the show with an undervalued business because I didn't want to talk about commercials for 45 minutes. That's so boring. Yep. I wanted my episode to be really good, and in order for it to be good TV and to get a good edit and to make sure it's aired, because you're not guaranteed that your episode's going to air. I needed to make sure that it was fun and that we're not talking about commercials, and I just wanted to talk about how good my product was. So I went on asking for 200 grand for 10%. Our real evaluation at the time was 2 million for 20%. So
where did you get that valuation from? What numbers did you kind of pull together to get that sort of valuation?
That vow was, honestly, we just plucked it out of my ass. The actual valuation though, the 2 million for 20, that was legit. Okay. Like we'd fully that was a legitimate exercise in valuing the business.
Yep.
But for Shark Tank, I just was like, whatever. And you send them your financial statements and things like that. So what you're asking for on the show has been approved by the business advisors that aren't the sharks. The sharks don't know who you are before you go on. No idea.
So that means your number wasn't too far off then, right? And then the real deal would have been kind of. So how did you base your valuation? Like at that stage, you would have been about a year into the business, 18 months into the business.
18 months in, I think.
How did you value it based on your monthly recurring or?
I think it was a monthly recurring, and I think it would have been based off definitely our annual revenue from our first year, but that was pretty small, to be honest. Pretty small piece.
Do you remember what it was? What was the first year?
I think we just made just under $1 million.
Okay. And so you're
so
double it and then call it a day.
Yeah, pretty much. And our margin, we weren't profitable at that point, nor are most businesses at that point. So I think that came into play a little bit too. Like having a negative EBITDA is, not great in terms of bargaining power.
Of course.
But again, this is all a part of raising, and that's why you raise, is then ultimately you spend money to make it, blah, 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 blah. So it's a very weird world out there in the land of VCs and investing.
It is, because a lot of people look at these businesses out there. How are they not profitable? They're doing $1 billion turnover, not profitable, yet they're valued at $12 billion.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't get that.
No, and look, it is infatuating, and I do think that a lot of the time some valuations are particularly subjective. It depends who's behind the brand. Is it a celebrity brand that has a lot more sway and a lot more power, because the marketing is spending less on marketing, which is always great. But for us, it depends. These companies a lot of the time though that are at a loss are doing massive R&D, producing new stock all the time. There's just things that come into play that make it pretty difficult to post a profit. But for us, it's always a priority to try and be profitable. But for instance, next year we're releasing a bunch of new SKUs, and in order to be lots of R&D, we're not going to be profitable next year, and that's completely fine. But knowing what that cash flow looks like over the next 3 years is super important, and having that financial literacy. I think sometimes I like to be I've got no idea what I'm doing. I have every single fucking idea about what I'm doing financially over the next 3 years. Every single cent.
And you know what? That is an actual beautiful part of your brain, and I think that's what a lot of founders and a lot of business owners don't actually think about. And I want to break that down a little bit as well for those who are curious about it too, because if you're sitting here, we're talking about it, you're going, I'm not going to be profitable and I need to worry about my cash flow. Now those two kind of don't make sense for a lot of people, right? No, so if you're not profitable, it means you're making no money. Correct. If you're making no money, how does cash flow stay positive, or how does cash flow maintain that non-profitability? Does that mean you have to consistently bring more money into the business? How does that work?
Yeah, different ways of financing it, right? So for instance, you can do trade financing with the bank. So it means that when you've got a manufacturing invoice, for instance, that's always our biggest cost is manufacturing. The bank will actually pay for that invoice, and then the manufacturer gets paid, and then we have different payment terms with the bank to repay that debt. Normally then we repay that debt when the retailer actually pays us for that stock and that delivery. So again, that's a liability and a risk to me to make sure that we repay that, because I'm going to jail at the end of the day if we don't repay our debts. So that's one way you can leverage it. The second way is, doing a cap raise. So for the first year of doing the cap raise, we just used literally cash that we had in the bank, and drew down on that. And then of course we're getting paid D2C. So the good part about D2C and why it's so important to have that as in a balance to counteract your B2B is because your payment terms are basically 24 hours later off Shopify you're getting paid.
Yeah, straight away.
So that's really important to keep your business afloat while you're sort of waiting for the rest of your debt to come to you. So those are sort of the two ways, I guess, but that's kind of the way that you can keep cash in the bank. But still post a loss. I know it's contradictory, but it does make mathematical sense.
And also, paper-wise versus actual cash-wise is sometimes slightly different.
Exactly right. So you've still got people that are owing you money. So your balance sheet looks really different. It's a whole thing.
Numbers difficult.
It's really difficult. And also what's really important though is that you don't need to understand all of it. There are really great strategic CFOs out there. We have a fractional CFO that works with us, and she's my best friend. I love her. And she has taught me a lot of this. I didn't really know much of this when I started. I knew I knew how to run a really good a cash flow and a cash report from being in construction, but I didn't really realize then the other end of the business in terms of like actually who's paying for that and how it's getting paid for and blah, blah, blah. And what the payment terms are, why having bad debt is so bad. Like there are things like that I remember were always thrown around in my day job where people were like, well, you've got bad debt, you need to chase the client for payment. And I'm like, you're a Fortune 500 company, like who the fuck cares? now I'm on the other end of the spectrum and I'm like, I like can't say sorry.
I don't want
enough.
the bad debt, no bad debt.
I'm like, no bad debt, everyone's going to pay me. And like, I understand how fundamentally important that is now that I'm on the other side of it. And I do always say like, there are certain things like that when people say, you know, should everybody start a business? And I'm a firm believer that like, I don't think everybody should. But everybody should, in a way.
Yeah. I think everyone has the opportunity, but not everyone can handle what the business throws at you, right?
But it's just one of those things where then you just come to the table with so much more respect for other businesses. Regardless of whether they're a big business or a small business, it doesn't matter. Things like bad debt being super important regardless of how big or small your business is. And then also things like even just being compassionate when it comes to customer service. Like knowing that at the other end of that email of that small business is a human that genuinely fucking cares about your experience and your product and the money that you have spent on their product and the care and the consideration that you've taken and the time that you've taken to convert into a customer and how important that is to retain it. And I think that as a customer, you need to understand that not every business is out to get you and they genuinely want to help solve your problem. So I do find it this is one thing I'll never do as a business owner is get AI to do my customer service for me.
We still have manual customer service reps. We don't use AI.
I do it all.
I got kicked off because I got frustrated at a customer once, but I'm not allowed to touch customer service.
Do you know what I love about it though is that your customers are the ones that will genuinely give you good feedback.
I agree. I love the feedback, but then when sometimes they give me something, just like you said, it's their fault, but they fucking always blame you. I lost my shit at one customer, and then from then on, that was 4 years ago, I lost my shit at one customer. I'm like, bro, you literally sent a screenshot of her own message back to her, and then my business partner was like, you off the fucking customer service from
That's
now
hilarious.
On, and I got kicked off. But yeah, a lot of people don't get that. Us as small businesses, we care about our customers. Like,
I care.
Think about it. If I order 2 clutch glues, I get 1 cent without a box and whatever, then that means you, for the sake of fixing that relationship, need to send me a box. That costs you $9 with Ozpost. You got to send the box. Or even worse, if I'm missing a product, now a customer complains, you're sending out the box with a product, you're sending out another mailer bag, you're using staff to do it. It costs us like $15 to $20 to fix a problem.
What's bonkers to me is that when people are like, why can't you just offer free shipping on everything? I'm like, you're buying a $29 product. Cost me fucking $20 to ship it. And then I've got to pay for the product. I've got to pay for my staff. I've got to pay for everything else. Like, it's things like that where I'm like, this is why it'd be important for everybody to start a business just to learn
that.
about like how much it actually costs to run a business.
Yes.
And everyone would be very surprised to learn. Like, it's like when you hear stories of people being like, I don't know, it cost me like $0.01 cent to make my product. And, they're selling it for $100. It's like,
I see it on AliExpress for $5. They're selling for $100. Then go fucking buy from AliExpress.
Do it. Like, and it's things like that though, where that business model as well, where they're selling it for too cheap is unsustainable. They pop up as quick as they, come down. And that's something that is just, again, we could talk about that for like another 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. It's just business owner rants. And I think a lot of people who don't get business don't see the nuances behind it, the nitty gritty. Like, they don't see that this product you might sell for how much? $29?
That's a small tube, which we sell for like $7. But
$7? You sell this for $7? I look at this and I go, fuck that packaging, like 80 cents.
Yeah.
Box, like maybe 45 cents, depending on your volume. And then also the graphic design that goes behind it. Then the GS code that you've paid for over here, right? Like, people don't realize. Yeah, and shipping.
The actual product inside, by the way, because it's a globally patented formula, it's really fucking hard to make.
Yeah.
Really hard to make this product. It takes days to make clutch.
Go.
And so the actual filling, but like we hardly make a profit on that, by the way.
I can tell. It's $7.
Cents.
Guys, you don't realize if you have like a proper GS1 barcode, it is about $1,500, $2,000 a year.
A year, and
subscription to own the barcode. That only when you stop your subscription, your barcode stops working.
Yeah.
So people don't realize like just how important that is as well. If you wanted a universal barcode that works, and you get a GS1 barcode, that's the standard for the industry. It's $2,000 a year.
It's a lot of money.
If you're a startup that's just started doing $100K a year revenue,
Yeah.
$2,000, that's 2% of your entire business.
Yeah.
Let alone you look at this little clutch tube, $7 retail for a tube where the cost price is probably like $3, $4. And then you're trying to ship this. How are you going to ship this for free?
Yeah. And
it doesn't work.
Again, patenting,
patented.
trademarking, like all of it.
Patented, trademarked, and then you've got the person that picks and packs this, probably 50 cents per order.
Pick. Yep.
Like,
yep. It all goes into it. And when, just by the way, like the cost price of your product and then your RRP, I'm not just pocketing. That's not pure profit.
It's not.
I'm very lucky to be making a profit on
literally
my
$7. Annabel will probably take home 20 cents if she's lucky, I reckon.
Yeah.
That's just my guess, all right? I don't know the exact metrics behind a business, but looking at this as another business owner who has been through the process, I know that a $7 product is not making much money at all.
No.
Unless it's like an upsell where someone's just paying it and you've already acquired that customer. That's the only time you really make money on a product.
Well, and again, we live in this day and age, though, where people are just like, that's really expensive. It's like, okay, well, don't fucking buy it then.
Yeah, you have a choice. No one's forcing you.
No one's forcing you to do it. Or when we just get comments from people that are just kind of like, this is fucking useless. It's like, okay, keep scrolling. I didn't tell you to buy it. Literally. And I think that this is the problem with the algorithm, is that they think that the algorithm serves them 100%. And it's like, no, the algorithm's constantly testing you, seeing, you know, if you're going to engage in different things. And like, yeah, you are going to see things that,
and if
like,
it's not for you, it's not for you. Like,
keep scrolling.
You know
Most
what?
of the time it's men that are just like, this is fucking stupid. It's like, okay, it's not for you. I literally don't care.
Well, then obviously they don't love their wives enough.
No, well, pay attention to what's going on around you.
Pay attention to your wives, your daughters.
Well, when people are like, oh, if you're gluing, if you're sticking your clothes on, then just wear clothes that fit. It's like women have been using tape from the hardware aisle for decades.
And plus, it's fashion. Men don't get fashion as much as women do. Let's be honest. I mean, I'll admit, I was once upon a time like that. I don't give a fuck. Wear whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care how you look. As long as you look good and you look good to me, that's all. Feel good. That's right. Yeah. That's fine. Like, as a man, I think that from that perspective, like, men out there need to be more appreciative of the women in their lives as well. I think that's very, very important. And to understand that what they might see as a superficial pain for the girls is very, very important to them. I never used to really understand that. When girls spend like 2 hours on their hair or 2 hours on their makeup, they got to do their lashes, their nails, they got to do all of that. I'm like, it's fucking stupid. Why are you spending so much money?
It's a ritual though.
But I know, and then now I understand. I'm like, it's so important because it actually helps them with one, how they feel about themselves, their confidence, their emotions, all that sort of stuff. It makes sense. So it's just the same thing as a guy going out there trying to spend $500,000 on a Lambo, or whatever. It's the same shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know, my girlfriend would not spend $500,000 on her lashes over her entire lifetime, let alone me going out there to buy a fucking $500,000 car
100%.
Just so I can feel good about myself.
100%.
Right? So I think it takes a bit of understanding there. And a lot of people in this day and age, I feel like it's just such a fast-paced world. People just, if they can complain, they will complain
100%.
without the understanding or empathy for each other. And I think
100%.
that's the fucked part about social media.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
And it's just super parasocial, but like not in a good way. I think that people just look at things and instantly they like, that's not a problem that I have. It's like, okay, well, like there are problems out there in the world that you're not going to
You are not the center of the fucking universe. Yeah. Relax. Yeah. Not every product's built for you.
Yeah. Have empathy for that. And anyway, that's just
that's our rant. That's our typical founder rant. Rant over. But yeah, that's very, very interesting how, go through that process of raising money. Okay. Now, the burning question that I think a lot of people will probably have in this is, you will go and raise money, but then you'll sacrifice a portion of your company.
Yeah, that's right.
How does that work? And like, how do you feel behind that, right? Like, how much money did you actually end up getting through VC and Shark Tank and all that sort of stuff?
So what happened was, we'll dial it back to Shark Tank, Val being 200 grand for 10% of the business. I went on the show, ended up being coined the best Shark Tank pitch of all time. I think that...
Why do you think that's the case? Why did you get the best Shark Tank pitch of all time?
Well, the analytics don't lie. I'm the most watched Shark Tank pitch of all time.
Really? Wow.
For Australian Shark Tank. I think I'm like third from Scrub Daddy and someone else.
Holy shit.
As well, globally. On Davey Fogarty's channels alone, I think I've got him over 200 million impressions on his videos just from my pitch. I'm his most watched TikTok video by like 40 million views. And same on same on Rob Herjavec's channel as well, and he's like the shark of all sharks. He's on every Shark Tank ever.
He's the OG.
Yeah, he's on every season, globally, like literally on every Shark Tank. And then all 5 sharks wanted it, and then I said yes to Davey and Rob doing a dual deal on the show, but then off the show I declined their offer.
Oh, interesting.
Because my real evaluation was 2 million for 20%. And so off the show, this was like 2 weeks later, by the way.
So you're saying off the show, when you got your numbers redone, it was 2 million for 20% of the business. Where did that number come from? That means the business would have been valued at 10 mil at that stage.
Right. That's right. It was an $8 million pre-money, and that was based off a 3x multiple of our revenue at the time. Aggregate revenue at the time. So
you got a valuation based off revenue at the time.
That's right.
Okay.
So that's what our valuation was, pre-seed valuation, which is very big for a company that's an FMCG business.
For 18 months old, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so what happened was off the show, I was like, this is our real evaluation now. Things have changed, 2 million for 20. Do you want to reevaluate your offer? Because that's what I've got a term sheet from Blackbird that's 2 million for 20. So like, are you going in here or not? And they were like, yeah, we'll go in for 2 million for 20, but you've got to give us founders shares. And I went, absolutely fucking not.
Wow.
And that's when I went, thanks, but no thanks. And then they went, well, if you don't accept our offer, the odds of your episode getting aired are next to none. And I went, all right.
Holy shit.
Called their bluff. Obviously, it's not their decision too. You said to me on the show that this was the best pitch you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think that the producers are going to want to air that one.
I agree.
So, and you know what? They're better for it. It is genuinely one of the highest engaged piece of content across Shark Tank Australia and all of their channels. So
I'm surprised
I've done them a favour.
I'm surprised Davey and Rob were such hard cunts.
Rob was hard about it. Davey was not. Davey was really nice about the whole thing. Davey was great. I like him a lot.
Because Rob doesn't come across as like a hard cunt like that.
No, he is. Behind the scenes. The Americans are built different. Well, he's Canadian, but like
true.
They're built different in the way that they negotiate.
Yep.
Anyway, then Blackbird, as mentioned, I had a term sheet from Blackbird for 2 million for 20. I went back to them and said, you can have 15 for 1.5.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fill the rest of this round out with a few strategic investors that I also want on my cap table. So I really wanted Danny Millam from Koala and Milkrun. And Blackbird were like, great, we actually know Danny really well. We'll get you a pitch with him, to him. He wanted to invest. We got our lawyer to invest because lawyers are really expensive. And I was like, well, if you're going to be along this journey forever, why don't you just invest? And then, we'll pay you back in tenfold later down the line. So we got him to invest, and we got someone who owns his own marketing PR firm to also invest. And from there, we were able to curate just like a really beautiful strategic cap table. And honestly, the things that we've been able to achieve together now over the past, it's been about sort of a year since we closed that raise, has been absolutely beautiful. And Blackbird do not invest in FMCG businesses at all. I think we are their only one. And that's been an interesting exercise in, them learning new things from us. I think probably the main thing being they're a tech VC, obviously one of the major investors in Canva. And what I find funny is that they're like, so when are you hiring new people? It's like, no, the money that we would put into hiring people, we actually just need to put into marketing. Like we don't need heaps and heaps of bums on seats because we have efficiencies in the platforms that we use. And a lot of them, I don't know.
It's not like tech where you need another developer to help you build out another stack.
I'm not having someone. Also, just like the key difference here is that when you release a product, it needs to be perfect on release. Yeah. As in, a tech program, you can just continue to
update 2.1, 2.3.
Yes, increases. So very different in terms of how you iterate and how you do R&D.
Yes.
And that's something that I think that they've adjusted to really well. We just have to have discussions around it being like, yep, I know it's going to freak you out that I'm spending $2 million in marketing, but like that's because we don't need to hire heaps of people. And that's just
3 developers. Relax.
Yeah. No, exactly. Or 2 if you're really desperate.
Yes, exactly.
And so, it's been a really exciting journey to work with them, and they've been so the best, like so supportive. I WhatsApp them like every single day, just text them like random shit, and they're like, they're probably sick of hearing from me. Yeah. They're just like, Annabel, just like do your thing. I'm like, I just want to give you updates.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, you're a good founder. Great. Yeah.
The one thing that I say to anyone who's thinking about raising money is they're having a seat at your table, not the other way around. So you need to do things on your terms. They are lucky to be there. And once you take your power back in that conversation, you realize that you are going to curate a team of people that will genuinely care about you as a founder and have faith in you as a person in order to lead a business that is going to have a really long life and a long, successful life. And I think that that's something that people don't realize in early stage investing is that they don't really care too much about the business and your numbers in the early days, but they genuinely care about the founding team. So just knowing that that's what they're looking for early on is a really key piece of information that will just shift your focus and your power.
That's very, very powerful stuff. I want to get some more insight on the Blackbird side, right? Because, so you said when you came off the show for Shark Tank, you got the valuation. Was Blackbird the one that did the valuation for you, or did you get like an independent?
No, my lawyer did the valuation for me.
Oh, so your lawyer did the val. Okay, so once you get the val done, and that's obviously you based that off revenue at the time because there's no EBITDA, right? So you based it off revenue and obviously potential growth or whatever. So there's a few superficial factors obviously included in there. So you got you said it was about a 3x, right?
Yeah.
So 3X. About a 3x, which gave you a 10 mil val at 2 million for 20%. Yeah. That was the total cap pool?
That's it.
That was the total pool.
Yeah. So
and Blackbird came in and then they saw, how did Blackbird reach out to you? How did that happen?
What happened? So what happened was there was a friend of ours that reached out being like, hey, there's this thing called the StartMate Accelerator Program. Have you heard of it? And I was like, no. I genuinely had no idea who these VCs was. I never heard of StartMate, never heard of Blackbird, any of them. Literally not a single VC.
And just a reminder to everyone, 3 years ago, Annabel was in construction.
I was wearing
not startup high
steel cap boots. I loved it. It genuinely, if I wasn't doing Clutch, I'd still work there to this day. I fucking loved it. So what happened was, first and foremost, this is also around Shark Tank time, right? So this all kind of just happened like all at once. Like all at once, it was like the big bang. So Shark Tank came through. StartMate were like, be a part of our accelerator, and we like got in. And then at the final moment, I was like, I don't actually think that this makes commercial sense because the agreement was like, so it's an accelerator and it's like, but I actually already have a product. Like we're selling. So I don't need a go-to-market.
Exactly.
Like I don't need a go-to-market strategy. I've done it. And so that didn't make sense, but then it changed just made me think about like, what would my business actually look like if I just had like a bunch of money and I could do what possibilities are there for me? And that's when I started talking to my lawyer more, and he was just like, you should actually do a real cap raise for your real evaluation and see how you go. He was just like, I know the guys at Blackbird, if you wanted me to send an email and an intro. They replied back and they were keen to just have a chat. I was really green at all of this, and what I love so much was that I went into the conversation being like, hey, this is all completely new to me. I really just like need to take my time with this, and I need you to sort of just not move as aggressively quickly as I'm sure you do with a lot of other businesses.
Yes,
and especially when people are doing series A, B, C, D, like people know that shit, right? And so you do just move. But in early stage investing in pre-seed, I was like really overwhelmed, and I just wanted to make sure I took my time with it and really trusted my gut and really had people on board that I felt understood me and understood the Clutch journey. And so then we had a meeting. They were like, we really like this. When you're ready, tell us and you can pitch to our investment committee. And I went, great. Honestly, like 2-3 months had then like passed that moment. And that's when I was like, okay, no, like I'm ready. It like finally clicked one day. I was like, no, like let's do this thing. And so I think it was about November last year at this point. And that was around the time that Shark Tank had aired. So I'd already filmed that episode and I already knew the outcome of that, but I was still negotiating with JB and Rob at this time. And that's when I went into the pitch with the investment committee, and they all just said big fuck yeses to it.
What was the pitch like? Was it scary? Did you pull up like a massive like PowerPoint? What was it? Did you air the show? Hey guys, this is my Shark Tank episode. Just watch that. I'll be out. I'll be back.
The episode hadn't aired yet, but I could guarantee them that it was a good edit because I didn't say or or like. I didn't stutter. I answered every single question perfectly. I had every piece of faith that whatever aired would be good publicity, not bad publicity. So I just went into that being like, there's going to be a very, very, very good episode of Shark Tank that's going to come out, and it's me, and you guys should watch that. And that's something that, you know, is exciting. And that generated a bit of buzz and excitement around the product, definitely. And then, to be honest, I went into the pitch first. We had the slide deck, and that was fine. But did you figure out the slide deck yourself? Or did you? Oh, wow. Yeah, and it took me months to build because it needed to be perfect. It needed to be able to tell the story well, no fluff, but then like the perfect amount of information, which is always a really hard line to walk.
Did you have a lot of time with the VCs?
I think we had 45 minutes to get up.
To do a pitch and...
to do the pitch and get out. And we went in, it was online, we weren't in person, and my sister was on, you know, one thing and I was on the other little thing, and it was just a Zoom meeting. And to begin with, for the first 10 minutes, honestly, we were just chatting. We were just chatting, good to break the ice, good to be like, cool, we're all people here. nice. And then we were sort of talking about Clutch, and I was talking about the founder story. This is no deck at this point, right? Like, we were fully just chatting. Just a bit of banter. Bantering. Like, and I was kind of giving examples of like, oh, you know, when you go to the club and girls are wearing fashion tape, like, oh, I'm sure you so-and-so, like, you've never been to a club before. Anyway, it's like, it's a place where there's loud music, you know, and, you know, you can kind of just like really get that banter going with them. If you read the room correctly and have a bit of EQ, you know, you can have a bit of fun with it. And I think from there they were like, okay, cool, guards are down.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that they don't get, is that normally they would go into a pitch and somebody would be like,
okay, serious. Boom.
Deck. next slide. And I kind of just went in and we just chatted for like 10 minutes. And then it was like, all right, here's some bits about Clutch. For 20 minutes, we just sort of went through what our numbers were, what we were building, marketing, blah, blah, blah. And then the final 10 minutes was just like a full Q&A. And they just loved it. They ate it up. And then
you rizzed them so good.
Pretty much. And then I remember 2 days later, I was at a conference and I was sitting in a Q&A session with like the founder of Mecca or something like that. And I got an email on my phone just saying like, congratulations. And I literally bawled my eyes out.
Wow.
I like in the room, I was like, it was a full packed room and I was like in the middle of it. It couldn't have been like more, I don't know, visible if I tried, like when I stood up and I had to leave because I was just like inconsolably crying. And I think people thought somebody had died. I was like,
so I was going to say, did someone just die?
Nah, I just like got investment and it was just the most insane day. And I really loved that moment. Yeah.
So what was that like? So Blackbird would have been like, okay, cool. We love it. Here's the term sheet. We're going to give you $2 million for 20% of your business.
Yeah.
But then you brought on other people, other strategic investors. Does that go on top or is that a part of it?
Yeah, that was a part of the 20%. So then I was like, no, you can have 15%.
Okay, I need 5 for the strategic people that I want to bring onto the team.
And that's what I said. I said, I just like need space for some strategics. And they were like, hey, is there any strategics that you think that we know that we can connect you with? And I was like, well, I really want Danny. And they were like, great, we'll get you a pitch with Danny. Done. So they actually then helped get some strategic investors on board.
There you go.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Really cool.
Yeah, so I think that's a lot of the pathway that a lot of Aussie entrepreneurs probably don't know of / have never considered. I've personally never considered raising, but I've been thinking about it recently as well, which is why I'm very curious about this process. I'm sure a lot of founders who get to a certain level in their business obviously think like that as well.
Totally.
Right? Because it's like, how do you break through from the business that's worth 10 million?
Yeah.
You know, you might be doing $2, $3, $4 million of revenue a year. And how do you become the business now that is worth 200 million?
Sure.
You know, and that's a big leap for a lot of people. Doing that by yourself is often quite difficult. And if you do manage to pull through, you're the 1% of the 1% that has been able to do a 40, 50, 60 million revenue business, which is very rare in Australia. We're such a small country.
Rare in Australia,
rare.
Much more doable in places
US.
like the US.
The US is like, oh, your business does 10 mil.
population.
Did you just get started yesterday or something?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the conversation.
Definitely. Yeah. But there's just so much more opportunity over there and they're far better at supporting other businesses as well.
I agree.
Australia is really difficult in that there's tall poppy and I think so many people are trying to catch you out or thinking that, you know, you're getting too big for your boots or you've got a big ego and it's just like, no, like not at all. I think also what's so funny is that like shit goes wrong every single day. I don't understand how anyone in FMCG could have an ego. It is the most humbling experience of my life.
We get shat on every day.
Every day. I'm like, am I the dumbest person alive?
Literally.
Like, how did this happen?
Yeah, literally.
And it's all funny. You can just have a sense of like genuinely, if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
And I mostly laugh. I think I've probably cried twice. One time I cried because our Instagram got hacked and it was being held for ransom.
That's pretty sad, but oh really?
Yeah.
Oh fuck! Did you pay the ransom or how?
No, we got it back. We ended up through nepotism. We knew someone that worked in
Meta.
Meta.
Nepotism. We love nepotism.
Yeah, we knew someone that worked in Meta, like through a friend of a friend of a friend. Like we just like went down the chain, and then we finally found someone who was able to, at Meta, was able to get through the back end and get it back.
Well, there you go. How good is that? Crazy. Well, now we're kind of up to date for today.
Yeah.
Or actually not just yet. But how big is the business now? You're talking global distribution, moving on to new product SKUs as well.
Yeah.
Essentially, you've got the one product SKU with three different sizes.
Yep.
With new product SKUs, completely new product SKUs, I'm assuming, coming out.
Completely world first innovations.
There you go. Very cool stuff. Where is the business at now? You're in retailers. I know you mentioned in the US.
Yeah.
You've got retailers here in Australia.
Yep.
D2C is probably growing.
Yep, we've got
Where's the business at?
Boots in the UK as well, which is going really well. We are going into Urban Outfitters in January. We're going to Target US next year as well. In May, we're going to Sally's, which is a chain of like beauty stores in the US as well. And we're going into a bunch of college bookstores across the US, like on college campuses that are like,
interesting.
You know, those bookstores that are like a convenience store.
Oh, it's like at UNSW, you said they have it. They sell like the lab jackets, the hoodies, the little key rings, all of those.
And then they have books, and then they have a pharmacy in there, you know, just like
random shit.
It's like I don't know, it's like just a
uni convenience store.
Uni convenience store, I guess. We're going into all of those like across America, which is really great because we sell especially well for that demographic.
So do you have a team now that does all your wholesaling, or are you still doing it yourself?
So bits and bobs I do myself, and then other things I delegate. How I got into Priceline, CVS, Woolies, even though that failed, and a lot of independent retailers, Universal Store, Perfect Stranger. Those were all from guessing email addresses and got ranged.
And that was from yourself?
That was from me, just hustling and sending a bajillion emails out. Like if you don't get a response, by the way, it's not a no. It just means that they like haven't seen it.
It's in the junk or somewhere.
Or, you know, you didn't quite get your copy right. Do it again. Rewrite it and resend it. And I guarantee you, out of 365 days in the year, there might be one good day that you catch them on. So just like keep at it. I think people send one email and then they're like, oh, they're so difficult to crack. It's like, no, they're not. You just only sent one email. It's so fucking lazy. Just think people aren't hungry enough. Like truly, if you want it, I will work 24 hours a day in order to get what I want, because I just like can't sleep if I'm like not getting closer to that goal.
I'm very much the same.
And you just got to be hungry. And I think that, I don't know, I speak to a lot of people that are like, how did you get ranged in retail? And I'm like, guessed the email addresses for starters. And I'm like, I remember, I don't know, I was talking to some founders the other day that they were like, I'm finding Pricelines are really hard not to crack. And I'm like, well, what have you done? And they were like, oh, I filled out like a contact form. And I was like, they're not going to contact you. Like you need to get in front of their face, like somehow, like make it work, barge a door down, talk to a million people, you know. And I was happy. I like made an introduction and I like did all of that, and that's fine for Priceline. But I was like, sometimes I just like, it's not meant to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
That's right.
So there's just elements to that where I get sort of frustrated in the level of involvement or the level of effort that people want to put into their business.
I agree.
But when it came to now, like our ranging and distribution in the US, so I set up the 3PL in the US. We've got a 3PL in the Netherlands. We've got distribution everywhere for D2C. But for which I set up, you need to have your own business numbers over there. By the way, you need to have your bookkeepers, your accountants doing your own tax collection. So it's
separate bookkeepers, separate accountants,
separate
overseas.
entities. I've got like 7 different business entities now that like, and it's a lot to keep track of, and that then eats into your profitability and stuff, because I've got a bajillion contractors that I've got to pay. But now in America, because it's just such a big piece of the pie, I hired a sales manager over there who Urban actually came to us. They DM'd us on Instagram and they were like, we love this. Can we range clutch? So that was cool.
Wow.
But for Target and for Sally's and for Follett, who own those college bookstores, those were through our sales manager in the US.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And I think that was a really obvious next hire for us, was just someone who can, it's just such a big market. And if I'm physically not over there all the time, I'm going to need somebody to crack that one for me.
How did you hire this person? What's the hiring process like? Because you're in Australia.
Yeah.
How did you hire in the US?
Hire so slow. I think that people don't anticipate their problems well enough as well. I can anticipate a problem 6 months down the line, knowing that if I had all this money in the world, I'll make up hypothetical situations to be like, if I had $10 million in bank, who's the next person that I'm hiring tomorrow and why? Or who's somebody that I know that we're going to need in 6 months in order to get to this revenue figure this imaginary revenue figure that I need to get to.
Do you think that's the construction manager brain?
Yeah, definitely. Like anticipating those problems and like knowing how I'm going to get to a certain goal, whether that's a tangible goal, whether that's like, you know, I just want to get to, I don't know, $100 million in the US. I want to do $100 million in revenue in the US. success. I know that physically I cannot achieve that on my own. Knowing that I can hire a team or a sales manager to make that possible is then obviously a very obvious next step to take. But then also knowing that if I'm going to do $100 million in revenue, that means that I need to make X amount of stock, meaning that then I need X amount of money for that. So then it goes back into like, I've got to communicate that to the bank. I've got to communicate that to my CFO, my team. Then knowing how much money they need to spend on marketing, it all flows back.
You're quite a numbers/modeling type person.
I like it because
it's very interesting.
It just makes sense. Like, I think that otherwise you're just going to anticipate these problems too late, though. The numbers genuinely tell you so much about the health of your business that I think.
So do you have like giant spreadsheets at home?
Yeah, I love them.
Okay, that's literally my monitor right now. It's just like 14,000 different spreadsheets.
I love them.
I'm just tracking everything.
And they're all hard coded and they all like, give me actual figures. And I think that was something that we worked really hard on, especially when we onboarded our COO, was to be like, let's just get some real processes going here. And that was something that he was able to transform for us. And now we've got our fractional CFO that's then also
how cool.
Bashing out.
So you have a fractional CFO, fractional COO?
I have a full-time COO.
A full-time COO.
He's doing all the shipments. He's doing all of the stock
managing
forecasting.
Everything.
Oh my God, it's a ball ache. And that was the first person that I knew I needed to hire.
Here in Australia, right?
Yeah. I was like, I need a COO because it's too much time of me living in the present, trying to do all these shipments and then also trying to do, R&D and business development for like a year or two down the line.
Yeah.
And I just can't live in these two brains. So I knew that was the easiest, like the most important task that I needed to offload to someone else just to make sure that I could live in a CEO brain and not a COO brain. Because you can do them both, but it just takes away from how much growth and building you could be doing.
Or you're stunting a bit of somehow.
Definitely, like the give and take to it, and it just made sense to me to hire a COO, and he's been doing a brilliant job. So we've got him on board, and then my sister, my CMO, and then we've got a bunch of marketing staff that we have under her.
Yeah, how cool. So how do you structure things then? Because I know the psychology of like employees or employment in the US is kind of different to Australia.
Yeah.
How did you structure like your US sales manager? Is he on like a base plus commission, or like how does that work? Because in Australia, obviously we have our, you have to navigate things like super, you've got to navigate like things like, workers, staff, all of that sort of stuff, right? Different legal sort of rules for all these different countries.
Yeah.
How did you begin to navigate that? How do you even structure like a pay package or something like that for your overseas hires?
For overseas hires, I try and keep them as contractors for the time being, just because the admin is a bit easier. They are more expensive, but it does mean that I'm not navigating.
They're more expensive overseas.
They're more expensive because I'm not paying for like their healthcare and blah 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 blah.
Right, right.
I also don't work. I try and not work off a commission model. I just try and pay them just like a higher base rate, and then I know that that's the consistent level that I'm paying them every single month, and then I don't need to do variables.
Here's a random
every
20K com.
Yeah, and that just again like kind of fucks your cash flow. Where I'm just like, it's better if it's a bit more consistent. So I'll pay you a higher base level to just keep that consistent. So that's the way that I work it.
Did you find them on like LinkedIn? How'd you source them?
Through word of mouth, through a bunch of different founders. Like honestly, I'm like always hiring. I think that this is something that is a hot tip to everyone. Even when you're not hiring,
hire.
Like keep thinking about like meet as many people as you can, because it doesn't matter whether you don't think that you need a sales manager. At one point you probably will, and it's really good to have that conversation early on in the piece and have that relationship ready to go for when you do need them. Instead, I think people a lot of the time fret and they're like, we need somebody right now. And then it's like, well, you're only going to find who's right in front of you who might not be the best fit. So if you're constantly got your eyes peeled and seeing what's out there, at least you know that you've got the right fit when the time is right.
I think that's very smart. I think a lot of people like definitely don't go out there thinking ahead to the point where they go and start actively or passively seeking these people. It seems like you are very, very good at playing chess. You're very good at putting the pieces together. And that's what I've noticed, is that you are great at identifying what pieces you need and then how to find those. What would be some of your tips then for all the founders out there going, okay, I'm ready to hire, I'm looking to hire. What are you looking out for in a person? And then what do you think is like a way to attract them into the business?
I think that first and foremost, they've got to be a good cultural fit. I think that a lot of people in FMCG, you know, this is a fun brand. Like I'm selling, like at the end of the day, I'm selling boob glue.
Yeah.
Like let's be funny about it.
Yeah.
Let's have a sense of humor about it, and let's have a team of people that I know that I want to hang out with every single day and communicate with. I need someone that I know that I can quite literally pick up the phone to at any point in time and I know that they'll answer. That's always a big thing. And vice versa. I need to make sure that there's someone that when they call me, I want to answer the phone call. Like I don't want to dread answering the phone.
Fuck, John's calling me.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm grateful to say that I don't have that feeling at all.
Which is great.
Which is great. So that hiring slow again, I think that that's something that just people just really need to just constantly be hiring. And then when you find the right person, you know, pull the trigger. And then I would say it's really important if you're hiring someone like a CFO or someone who's like a C-suite and pretty high up and perhaps someone that you don't necessarily have a prior relationship with, check all their references, like all of them. There's this book called The Who Method, which Mike Cannon-Brookes swears by, and he goes into so much detail. He hires so slow, super slow, and people need to normalize that. And then on top of that, he is going through every single person's reference and then some of their references.
Wow.
And that's just the best way to know, because people lie.
100%.
People lie.
100%.
You need to, you just can't take people's word for it. And especially when you're a startup and you're a business where if it turns out that you're not a good hire and I have to fire you, I've just lost like maybe $100,000.
Yeah.
And then everyone in the team's camaraderie is down.
Correct.
Now I'm down a person and I'm back to the drawing board trying to hire somebody new. It's just worth it in the long run to take your time with things. And I think where so many other elements of the business are rushed and we make fast decisions, definitely. There's a time and a place for making fast decisions and there's a time and a place to take things slow, and hiring is always where you want to take things slow.
Very, very powerful. Because, people are so important. Like people think businesses might be based on the product or the idea. Product and idea is great, but without the right team to execute on that, you ain't going anywhere.
Totally.
Nowhere at all.
And look, be gracious to yourself. If it turns out you make a bad hire, that's fine. Like, learn from it, though. Like, learn what didn't work, whether it was their personality, whether it was, you know, the fact that you
build
didn't
an
check
SOP
references.
around it.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'll do that for everything that I do.
Yeah, 100%. SOPs are so important. I remember I was speaking to my cousin once, and he's also a founder in the consumer tech space, and he had a big exit a couple of years back to Electrolux, and he was telling me, so a couple $100 million exit as well. So he did quite well, and he was telling me when he used to hire his C-suite, he would send private investigators to follow them for a month.
I'm obsessed with that. I would do that.
Yeah, he's like, I would send private investigators to follow them for a month, dig through their trash, go to people, suss out all their friends and family, like, and just get like a full dossier on like who this person is.
I'm into it.
Yeah,
I'd do
he
that.
was like, that's how obsessed he was. He would spend tens of thousands of dollars just to figure out whether or not this C-suite is even worth bringing or poaching or hiring into the company.
Without a doubt.
And I was like, fuck, that's some big money moves, but also at the same time, that's some psychologically like intense stuff. And to be honest, I fully get it because the people build the business. You were just there to, you know, impart that vision, but the people build the business. And I think that's so important. But I guarantee you there's going to be someone on TikTok that's going to look at us having this conversation and go, these two guys are fucked up. They're going to be like, why would you send people to suss out who I am? And when we know that you obviously lied on your resume, so...
If you're triggered by it, take a look inside.
100% I agree. All right, so we've gotten the business side, which was what I wanted in the later half of the show. But we've done that in the first half. I'm going to pull it back. We'll flip it around a bit. How did you get this psychology? You have a very interesting psychology. You're very strong, I can tell. Did you have that sort of upbringing through your childhood? Like, do you feel like growing up, everything was good? No bullying, life was good. What sort of background did you have growing up? Where did you grow up actually? Did you grow up in Sydney?
Yeah, so I grew up in Manly.
Okay.
And then when we were pretty young, my parents actually moved my sister and I to the Southern Highlands, to a town called Barrel, where we did all of our schooling. So we went to the same school our entire lives. I was there from preschool to year 12. In year 7, my sister and I, my sister's 3 years older than me, we then went to boarding school, also in Barrel. And so we spent a bit of time just coming backwards and forwards from Manly and the Southern Highlands. We had I would not change it for the world. It was just the best time.
That's awesome. You had like country and northern beaches.
Yeah, it was just like the best of both worlds. And my dad was a pilot for Qantas.
Wow.
He flew planes. cool job, great job.
Have you gone on a lot of flights with him?
So many, and it was always so cool.
Yeah,
it was always so cool hearing him over the radio being like, "Hi, this is Captain David Hay," and I'd be like, "Oh my god, that's my dad!" Yeah.
Do you get a special seat in the cockpit?
You're not allowed since 9/11.
Okay.
You're not allowed. But after, like when the plane was landed or beforehand, we were able to like give them away. Yeah. But you're not allowed to do that when the plane is flying for obvious reasons. And so that was really good. So it was mum home all the time looking after us, and dad was obviously like the good cop. He'd come home and everyone would be like, "Yay!" And
that's home. Mum's been screaming at me all day.
Yeah. But I look back on that and I'm like, oh my god, mum just dealt with so much shit. Like, I'm so sorry, mum.
It's hard being a mum, hey.
And like when she was doing it alone, because like he would go away, like there'd be some trips when we were really young, there were some trips where he'd go away for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He does like big international flights?
Big international flights that would be really long. And then like as time went on, those trips became much shorter. So they were like 5 days, 4 or 5 days. And then he'd be home for like 4 or 5 days.
Still long.
And so my parents had a really still have just the best relationship. They're so in love.
Oh, how good.
And that's always been a really great example just in my own personal life and how I maintain relationships and how I communicate with people. I think that from a young age, I was always, we watched the news always as a family. And I think from like a really young age, I always was really upset at how much inequity there was just like across the world, and how grateful though that made me that I was given the experiences that I was given and the life that I was given. And I always felt this inherent sense of responsibility that my parents have sacrificed a lot to afford to send us to the schools that they did. And I knew that I just wanted to do something with that.
Where do you think this, like, I'm very curious, right? Because from a young age, you're watching the news, you can already sense all of this. Do you think that was just innate for you? Or did that gratitude come from like seeing your parents? Where do you think that came from?
My parents were always grateful. Yeah. My grandparents are politicians.
Oh, wow.
And
politicians?
Aussie politicians.
Wow.
And they always kind of spoke about how important it was to like serve people and to be empathetic and to understand that like people will disagree with you and that's okay, but like knowing what their point of view is really important. I just think that I was just always like told that.
That's so interesting.
And I think that I just always knew that from a really young age. I think I had really good EQ from a really young age.
I can see that.
And that was something that I just knew that I wanted to carry forward. It was just like a big part of like what I felt was like my responsibility as a child. One of my favorite TV shows growing up was The New Inventors. It was on ABC, and it was a TV show where there were 3 inventors that would come on and they would present their product that they'd invented, and I just loved it. I was obsessed.
That's so interesting.
And my dad and I would like hypothesize for hours, like, I'm going to invent this thing and that thing and da 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 da.
And then look at you now, you've invented
I'm
clutch
an inventor.
glue. You're an inventor.
And I was always just really curious. Like I was always like, how do I make a grievance? So, like, how can I turn a grievance into a product that, then people can use? And so that was always like way that I was always thinking. I remember once we were at my family friend's house for dinner. I was really young. I think it was maybe 8 or 9. And my dad and somebody else's dad were talking about how they would be billionaires if they had invented everything that they'd ever thought about. And that's fine. We've all had that, thought. But I remember...
I wish I did that.
I remember as a 9-year-old being like, how embarrassing to live with that regret. I refuse to live with that regret.
Wow.
And that's then, from that moment forward, it like lit a fire in my belly where I was like, I know that once I have a good idea, I have to do it. Like, I just have to do it. So then I came across, when I finally had the idea for Clutch, I was like, no, I actually have to do this. This is a really good idea. I've had my fair share of like shit ideas where I was like, no, like I'm not doing that. But Clutch was the one where I was like, no, that's legit.
This is a cool, I've actually had the glue on since the start of the show. Well,
is it nice and tacky?
It is quite tacky. It's really cool how it feels and how it like sits on your skin.
It doesn't feel like it's there. It's like,
no, I would have forgotten.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something, but I can't remember what it was.
Kind of like honey.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like the texture's really cool.
It is.
So that's really fascinating.
Yeah, so I think that's what I was always like as a kid. I was really curious, like always. I liked school. I would say I was really understood at school though. Like I was really confident. I was really good at speaking. I liked performing. I was a classically trained violinist my entire life. Insane. And so I would perform a lot and I just loved that. I loved music. I loved art. I liked things that I could work on and see tangible upskill. I always found really satisfying to me. Didn't really have much of an interest in English, for instance. Like sort of didn't really love writing essays.
Yep.
But I really loved music and art and sport. Really loved.
And I'm assuming your sister's the opposite of that, right? She's the one that likes
She's
writing.
really creative, actually. Like she is like probably better at maths than me, and definitely better in English than me. She's smarter than me, definitely. But you know, we both like have our own strengths. She's far more compassionate and far more gentle, and I think I'm way more abrasive and chaotic. But like that really yin and yangs us out. So we have a really good dynamic as sisters. So I think she's the one that people go to for like a shoulder to cry on. But like when you're ready to like get back into it,
step up and be like, "Yep, I'm gonna got this shit."
And
then
like
they come to you.
then they come to me and they're like, "All right, like you know, let's puff me off a bit." And I'm like,
"You're the Tony Robbins in the family. You're the
tiger.
Inspiring one.
That's it.
You can do this. You got to do it."
Exactly right. So I think that was like always our dynamic. We only had one fight as sisters growing up, like
really?
only one.
Crazy.
And I don't even remember truly what it was about, but I just remember at one point we were like somehow like in the front garden and like she'd like pinned me down or something.
Oh wow.
And
So
I
it's
remember
a proper fight.
proper like fight.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on. Like, we're just not like that. And like, I remember I was like, how do I get out of this? Because I was like pinned down to the ground. And I was like, in that moment, I literally just like spat in her eye, like spat upwards in her eye. And she just ran off screaming, crying. And I remember in that moment going, I feel fucking awful. I'm never doing that ever again.
Wow.
And we've never had a fight ever again since.
well, at least now you know. Every time you have your back against the wall, you're gonna spit in their eyes. You're gonna get out there.
That's what I'm gonna do. That's my
probably
self-defense.
why you were so pissed off at Woolies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. If I see that buyer ever again,
you guy spit in your eye.
Exactly right. So that's what I was like as a kid. Really energetic, and yeah, I would say that just during high school, I think a lot of people took that confidence as ego when it never was.
And it happens. I think it happens all the time. Confidence is seen as ego when they don't have that confidence themselves, or they've never had that experience themselves. So definitely happens, especially in high school, right?
Yeah, and high school, and being in an all-girls boarding school, high school, you know, that was difficult, definitely. But now in hindsight, you realize, now I'm talking to like all of my friends from school, I'm like, oh, we all felt the same way. We all felt misunderstood. We all kind of hated it.
And now you're all friends.
And now we're all friends, and it turns out that we can all just like get along. And and that's such an interesting phenomenon when you finally make that shift and you're like, oh, we're actually not all that different from each other. And that's always really cool to get to that resolution.
Wow.
I actually spoke to a bunch of year sevens. I went to my old school yesterday and I was speaking to a bunch of year sevens, and they're so cute, the questions that they ask. And you can tell the ones that were like me, that were just like, you know, how did that make you feel? And, you know, what were your hobbies at school? And like, were there any moments that you really hated school? And I was like, I know exactly what you're going through right now, but there's only so many times. You just telling them everything is going to be okay. You just have to get there on your own. It's the same as going through business problems where it's just like, you actually just have to get to the other side.
There's no shortcut in that sense. There's no shortcut. No. Did you ever have any challenging moments in your upbringing that kind of imparted a lot of your psychology onto you now? Because what I'm realizing is your psychology is quite refined. It's quite good, in a way where, you know, you come from a great family, had great school and great education. You navigated a lot of it on your own, but innately you also had a lot of empathy. And
I had a good support system, though, right?
Incredibly great support system.
And I think though that like that gave me a really good risk appetite, because I knew at the end of the day I could always go home. I wasn't going to starve, and I always knew that home was met as a safe space where I knew that I could fail. Yeah. And I think that's
very powerful.
It was a great upbringing where my parents really encouraged us to be good and be the best and do our best, not be the best, but just like do our best and give 110% to everything that we did. And I think that has just always been something that now, you know, we are chronic workaholics, definitely. That's probably one thing that now we just can't switch off our brains, because we're constantly trying to like,
but that's what's fun about
do
life.
Different things. But
you know, we're always growing and changing and chasing things. It's fun. As long as you're fulfilled with what you do,
totally. But our parents just like really encouraged that out of us. Just encouraged the best out of us, and it didn't matter what we did. Like it didn't matter. Like if I wanted to be the best garbage man on the planet, they would be like, fuck yeah. And you're going to be the best at it. And like you're going to be the best garbage man. And that's just a really cool environment to be a part of, and probably something that was probably unusual
Yeah.
Maybe. For all the rest of our peers, I don't know. My parents were always firm but fair, and I think that I'm the same. My one grievance, there were also things that I like don't like about my parents that then I like picked up on and being like, I'm going to not do that because it annoys me. Like there's one thing, my mum cannot make a decision to save her life. She cannot make, like, I remember we would build houses growing up and she would lull over like 5 different shades of white where it's like, it's always the same one every time.
Who gives a shit? Just pick that one and just go.
Just pick it and go. And like, but I remember that being like a point of contention, like for a second, just being like, she can't make a decision to save her life. And I was like, mental note, make fast decisions. And that's really helped with running a business.
That's so good. You have such a great like kind of brain where you kind of reflect. And that reflection is so important.
Deep reflection.
100%.
And sometimes it, takes form in self-loathing occasionally, and that's okay. And then I sort of like get myself out of that hole.
Have you had that often? Like you just self-loathe?
Off and on. Not all the time. I think that like, definitely just during my formative years, like as a teenager, I was like, what are the parts of myself that I hate? And like, do I really hate that? Or am I just like being told to hate that? And like, that's where I just did a lot of thinking.
Wow.
And I feel very grateful for that thinking because I think that now I really like the person that I am right now.
Wow. Your self-awareness is on point.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well, I think that also just like know how to laugh at yourself. It's fucking funny. We're on a spinning ball.
In the middle of the fucking black space.
Like have fun with it. Like it's not that serious. And like, it's, it's funny when you meet people that are like, I want to start my business, but I need to do this next. And I'm like, no, if not just now, then when?
Yeah, I love it.
Fucking go.
Just go. Just go hard.
And I think people, especially females, are just really scared of being perceived and like negative perception. It's like, why? No one else matters. In that context of you starting your business, it's also amazing now as a business owner where I see perhaps sad or bad publicity about other founders. I'm never there going, oh, how embarrassing to them. I'm there going, that's a shame. Actually, and I hope that they're okay, and I hope that we can learn from this. It's a completely different outlook.
I think that's beautiful. Yeah, you have fantastic empathy, and your EQ is obviously extremely high, and self-awareness is very, very, very high. So with that, like it combines down into something which allows you to kind of see situations more objectively as well. And I think
very objective,
very, very powerful,
very black and white girl, very black and white. And I think that also comes from just like probably the long bloodline of politician in me as well. Got to make a decision and stand on it, right? Even though if sometimes you're wrong, you're like, well, I've made my bed, I must lie in it. And that's okay. And, I'm probably not the best sometimes in admitting I'm wrong, especially like, not so much with business. I'm really good at admitting when I'm wrong in business. I'm like, oh, guys, I really fucked it this time.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's a good story and you learn from it. But like, I'm probably a little bit more stubborn when it comes to like me and my boyfriend. Like, I don't know, sometimes I'm there just being like, rah, 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 and then like 5 minutes later, I'm like,
halfway through, you realize you're wrong. Yeah.
Actually, I'm really sorry.
But you're not, you know what? You're still wrong.
Yeah.
I get it.
But I don't like your tone, actually.
The way you talk to me was not good.
So like, I don't know, we're all human and we all do that. And I think that that's also an important lesson with anyone in business, whether you're talking to people that you really admire or you're talking to first-time founders, whoever it might be, like we're all people. And my dad always used to say to me, even the queen shits. And like...
Are you sure she's a girl? Are you sure girls don't shit?
And I always appreciated that from my dad, where it was just like at the end of the day, we're all not as dissimilar as you might think.
Wow. That's very, very powerful. Okay, well, that's good. I think that's very good perspective because I come from a slightly different, or maybe opposite end of the spectrum to that. Because I come from an immigrant family, so very poor growing up, not much at all. Bit of my backstory was we used to eat out of like we got to a point where business was so hard for us, life was hard, going through GFC, like we ate out of bins.
Oh my God.
We had to find food to put food on the table. So it was very, very difficult.
Really scary.
Completely opposite, right? So I've always had this discussion with my partner now, and we're like, oh, so what sort of parents do we want to be?
Yeah.
But, and it's a very, very hard conversation.
Yeah.
And the more I hear about these things, especially from the opposite end of the spectrum, where you've had a fantastic, safe household, growing up, money was there, food was there, everything is there, right? Clothes on your back, great schooling. For us, it's different. We come from nothing, and it's like we have to struggle for everything. And if we make a mistake, it's life or death. So it's kind of like
I think that you guys have better hustle.
You reckon?
Yeah. Because I think that knowing where you came from on both ends of the spectrum, like I'm incredibly grateful and lucky, which made me have this like inherent sense of responsibility that I needed to make sure that I did the most with what tools I was given. And it's almost embarrassing when I look at people that like have been given such a privileged environment to not thrive. I'm like, you were given every tool.
And we see that. A lot of my friends are like private school boys and stuff like that. And your parents are worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Nothing more frustrating than seeing that, truly. And that shouldn't bother me, but it does.
It does.
And then on the other hand, I just meet people that have like genuinely done everything from nothing and have been forced to, you grew up quickly doing that, I'm sure.
Correct.
And that's devastating, but it also definitely keeps both of your feet firmly on the ground, and keeps you humble and grateful. And I think that that's just, again, we can both come from really different sides of the fence, but still have the same outlook on a certain sense of importance, not in an egotistical way, but a sense of knowing that you can make a difference.
And I think that just goes to prove, like, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. At the end of the day, it comes down to, you know, you as an individual as well.
What you put out there.
Exactly. And like both you and me would have had different educations, different upbringings, different sort of lifestyles growing up. But still at the end of the day, the psychology is the same.
Yeah.
You know, we have that grit. We also have that self-awareness. We also continually want to grow. We want to contribute. We want to serve. We want to be better people. We want to produce better businesses, make more money. We want to do all of that.
Yeah.
But we came from different origin stories. And I think that's the cool part about life
Super
is
cool.
a lot of people put themselves down as victims because, you know, my family's not that great. If I had Annabelle's parents, maybe I could have been better. But the reality is you don't know. You could be like Trump, right? And his dad gave him $1 million loan to start his business, and that could be fantastic for you. Or you could be like us, you know, start with nothing and then build something. At the end of the day, your story is still yours to craft.
100%.
Doesn't matter what your past was. Your future is up to you.
There's no right or wrong, right? And you just need to be in control of your own narrative.
Very powerful. All right, we're coming towards the end of today's show, and you've shared some amazing things. And I think a lot of people would love your episode. One question I always ask every person that comes on the show, you know, I see life as like a game, right? It's like a game. I don't know if you grew up playing games or not, but
love them.
Games are the best, right? And then to figure out the next level in life, there's always different things. And then there's always times where you want to take a shortcut and you want to have a cheat code.
Sure.
I know now, and you know now, I'm sure, is that there is no real cheat code in life that will allow you to get from A to B instantaneously. However, if there was something that you would have learned over your last X amount of years of existence, especially in your business, there was this one thing that you can go back to maybe 16-year-old Annabelle. What would you tell her to help her get to where you are today in probably half the time, quarter of the time? But what would you kind of impart onto her to allow her to get this so-called cheat code of life?
I would say it's all emotional, truly, and it's all mindset, right? There's no like tangible skill that I think I could tell anybody that will make a difference, because again, as we said, you need to like learn these things yourself to understand the context behind why we do things. But I would say the cheat code is there are things about yourself when you're a teenager and when you're younger that you feel misunderstood, or parts of yourself that you might feel insecure about. Just know that those parts that you don't like about yourself right now, you will grow into, and they will become your superpowers. So knowing inherently who you are as a person, you just tap into those strengths as a adult in the world, and that's what you're inherently good at, and that's what you should do. And so I think that I was really good at, you know, creative thinking and free thinking and, you know, taking risks. And being confident and being good at public speaking. And I think that that was something that now has in turn become my superpower when it comes to growing my business. So just the parts of yourself you will grow into, even if it doesn't feel that you will, or you're self-conscious about them now. I promise you it will all make sense.
Trust in yourself.
Just trust yourself. There's literally nothing like your own intuition, nothing like it, and trust it. Because it's there for a reason, and everyone else is going to have different opinions about what you do, but ultimately the only person that's going to support your own decisions and get you through every single day is you. Wow,
that's very powerful. Trust in yourself, believe in yourself, and definitely develop that self-awareness as well, so you can continually grow and refine and be better. I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful cheat code. So Annabelle, where do people follow you? Where do people find you? Your personals, your business accounts?
At Annabel_Hay. Annabel is spelt ANNABEL. I'm not a double LE kind of gal. Reason being, my heritage is Scottish, and that is the Scottish way of spelling Annabelle.
Interesting.
Fun fact. When I was born, my mum actually called the state library and said, can you just tell me which way is the correct way to spell Annabelle? There you go. And they went, congratulations on your baby. Let me just
Let's get the spelling right first.
Yeah. And Annabel Hay. And then for clutch-related things, at clutch_glue on TikTok and Instagram.
Powerful. Well, that was Annabel Hay, who is the founder and CEO of Clutch Glue.
Yep.
Also Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
No, how crazy. Construction to Forbes 30 under 30 in 3 years.
Bonkers.
2 years.
Yeah, that was mad.
Yeah, and I mean, amazing. Best Shark Tank pitch of all time, so go check that out as well. I'm sure you'll see it on her profile. And it's been a fun conversation.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. This has been beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I hope you have enjoyed that episode of Point 01. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along on all our socials at Point 01 Podcast to watch all of the shorts again. We release an episode every single week, and we hope you will join us as we continue to explore the minds of those who make up the 0.01%. Until next time, keep hustling. I'm your host, Alan Fu. I'll see you on the next episode.